So we moved add ingredients into our store management, into NGRX realm, so to say. Let's do the same for updating and deleting. So first of all, let's create the actions again. So let's duplicate that constant. I'll name it update ingredient. So let's name this one here update ingredient 2. Of course, the name is up to you. And let's also create the delete one. Delete ingredient. Here too, delete ingredient. Now I'll then also copy this class twice. Here is the update ingredient class without an S. Of course, the type therefore is update ingredient. The payload, let's have a look. What did we use here? Will be the index and the new ingredient. And for delete, it's just the index. So for updating, the payload will actually be a JavaScript object where we'll have an index of type number and the new ingredient of type ingredient, of course. And for deleting, so delete ingredient here, I'll adjust the type and have a payload, which is just a number because we just passed the index to this action. Now with that, let's add them to our exported bundle here. We got update ingredient and we got delete ingredient. So this is now the exported bundle type of actions we have. Now we need to add the logic in the reducer. So let's check the cases. Shopping list actions update ingredient is the first one I want to check. In this case, I want to return, of course, an updated state using the old state and copying all its properties in an immutable way, and then overwriting the one specific ingredient. So overwriting the ingredients array as a whole, but now I want to overwrite it with an array where one single ingredient is updated. Now to do this, I'll simply get this one ingredient first of all. So I'll store it in a constant here, this ingredient. I'll fetch it from state ingredients, and I know that the payload I receive here has an index. So I can simply say action payload index. So this is the ingredient I want to edit. So the updated ingredient here should be a JavaScript object where I copy all the properties of the old ingredient to update it in an immutable way. And then here, I want to simply pass all the changed properties of the new ingredient, which is also part of the payload. So we'll distribute all the properties of action payload ingredient. This is the new ingredient. And this will now override all the properties which were part of the old ingredient. And it will give me back a new object so that I don't overwrite this in the existing ingredient. Now all that's left to do is add this to the array. For that, I'll first get my old ingredients, so this array from my state ingredients, however, in an immutable way, so that I simply distribute all the elements in this array here. And I'll now set ingredients at a specific position, namely action payload index, equal to the updated ingredient. So now I got an array with all the old elements, but one element was overwritten by the updated one. And now that's the ingredients I want to give back in the updated state. Now deleting should be even easier. There, first of all, let me check for that with delete ingredient. So here I of course also want to return a new object which holds the old state and then ingredients. However, ingredients now needs to be an array where one element is missing. So let's first of all copy that code where we fetch the ingredients. And now one ingredient needs to be removed. So I can simply say ingredients splice starting at the action payload, which keep in mind in this case is just the index, and then just splicing one element. Now here I got a type error because it doesn't understand that we have a return statement here. So let's name this old ingredients here, or turn it into a variable with let instead of const. So old ingredients. Now here, I'm splicing that and I return the updated value here. So this is the functionality in the reducer, updating or deleting ingredients. Now we can go back to shopping list edit, which is where we edit it or dispatch this. First of all, deletion is handled here. So we can simply say this store dispatch new shopping list actions. Now here it's delete ingredient, and I need to pass the index, which is simply this edited item index. So now with that, I'm dispatching delete. And for updating, I'll go to the onSubmit block here, where I'll simply call store dispatch new, then shopping list actions, update ingredient. And as a payload, I simply pass a JavaScript object which has an index property, because that's what we define here. It will also have an ingredient property then. The index property is simply this added item index. And as I said, it will also have an ingredient property, which is the new ingredient. So now I'm passing an appropriate payload to this action. Well, and with that, if I save this, now let's see if that works. I click on that and delete it. It's gone. And here we got an issue. We're loading the wrong item now. If I click on it, we're still loading apples here because our local state in the shopping edit component doesn't keep up with us dispatching this here. So let's fix this next.